A moment of reflection, a brief moment of harmony as the EU anthem wafted through the European Parliament in Strasbourg. And then the party poopers as the Brexit party showed their disdain for the EU. The normally mild-mannered Liberal Democrats had a populist touch too. MEPs from beyond Britain could be forgiven for thinking that tranquility will prevail when the awkward squad finally leaves the club. But up the road in the EU's capital, European leaders have endured an angry and gruelling 3-day summit.
We have chosen 2 women and 2 men for the 4 key positions. A perfect gender balance. I am really happy about it. After all, Europe is a woman.
Ursula von der Leyen will stand down as German Defence Minister to become President of the European Commission. And Christine Lagarde will transfer from the IMF to become President of the European Central Bank. The interim Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel will become President of the European Council, gifting him the often thankless task of shepherding EU leaders to agreement at their summits. And the Spanish Foreign Minister Josep Borrell will become the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs. The 2 most important jobs for Britain are the new presidents of the Commission and the Council, who will take charge of the final round of Brexit negotiations and future trade talks with Britain. Theresa May had a say in these appointments in what may be one of the final acts by a British Prime Minister in shaping the EU from within.
And of course, once we leave the EU, our relationship with the 27 member states will continue to be important. They're our closest neighbours, and we will continue to be facing the same challenges and wanting to work together, protecting our values.
The Prime Minister's allies are relaxed about these appointments. They believe that Ursula von der Leyen takes an orthodox German view on Brexit, upholding the fundamental rules of the EU whilst being well disposed towards Britain. Charles Michel is seen as less instinctively sympathetic to Britain than his Polish predecessor Donald Tusk, but he is regarded as a more skillful politician.
He is seen as someone who brings parties together, who has experience of finding consensus in really tricky political situations. So for Brexit, that will be important, because whether or not the UK leaves with the deal, it will inevitably at some point have to negotiate a future agreement with the EU. When it comes to the Commission, I suspect EU leaders wanted someone that they felt that they had confidence in, that they could trust to deliver on this, but who also wouldn't let Brexit dominate the EU agenda, because there are lots of other things that are going on.
A joyful voice in far from joyful surroundings. But after an almighty row, the EU once again soldiers on.